Chair, I call up Cruz 15, the no high impact AI system. This bill is the only AI bill being considered today that contemplates mandatory standards and certifications for certain AI systems, as well as robust enforcement from the Department of Justice. I have noted my longstanding concerns with the effects of heavy-handed regulations and what that means for U.S. technological competitiveness and innovation, particularly with respect to our competitive edge over China. It can also serve to benefit incumbent operators and entrench powerful giant companies with the resources to comply with these onerous standards. Currently, the bill has robust DOJ enforcement with respect to entities that deploy so-called, quote, high-impact AI systems that make decisions with respect to credit, employment, healthcare, et cetera. These are systems that are deployed by some of the most highly regulated entities now, like your local hospital, your bank, or your alma mater. I'm concerned with adding layer upon layer of new mandatory regulations for nascent technology. But I'm particularly concerned that if your bank, your town's college, or your hospital decides to use AI systems to improve outcomes for Americans, they will suddenly be swept into being regulated by the Department of Commerce on top of existing federal agencies, which already drives up the cost of essential services for the average American. Inflation is ravaging American families now, and we should not take steps to make it worse. Regulating these specific AI systems in the manner proposed in this bill could also give the tools to the Biden-Harris administration to pursue many of the nefarious AIEO and Bill of Rights policies that the radical left wishes to use to censor speech. I've offered a number of amendments today to try to narrow the scope of this bill and to protect nascent technology and to stop duplicative regulations and multiple federal agency regulators. Unfortunately, the bill sponsors and I were not able to reach agreement today and find an appropriate scope for this bill, so I'm calling up Cruz 15. My amendment would limit the scope of the enforcement in this bill to only the critical high-impact AI systems, i.e. the critical infrastructure systems tied to our nation's security. I believe this is a better scope for the bill, especially given how nascent this industry is and how we ought to be cautious in adopting a command and control regulatory system that sets the United States back. And I urge my colleagues to support this amendment.
Further discussion.
Madam Chair,
Senator Thune.
Thank you. I understand and support the ranking member's interest in minimizing the regulatory burden and providing room for AI development to flourish. But I have to oppose the amendment. And let me just say that the bill itself includes provisions which explicitly exclude deployers of these systems who are already subject to a similar regulation at other agencies, provisions that I have worked with the ranking member to improve. This provision is meant to provide some basic transparency with respect to the deployment of these systems while minimizing burden and preventing duplicative regulation of these industries. And even for deployers of systems who are not subject to regulation elsewhere, they are simply required to submit a transparency report to the Department of Commerce. This does not require deployers to hand over data or any sensitive information, only describe actions that they're taking to manage risk in the deployment of their systems. Importantly, this entire framework recognizes the body of existing law that already addresses many of the risks posed by AI, and I've taken significant steps to minimize regulatory burden and to maximize transparency. I'm committed to working with the ranking member to resolve his concerns going forward, but I would urge opposition to this amendment. And I would also point out that this bill is not at all informed by the Biden EO. In fact, it is a very pragmatic, fact-based, and risk-based alternative to the EO, and which creates more certainty out there because these EOs come and go with every administration. And I think the EO is the wrong approach. I believe this is the right, light-touch approach that encourages innovation and at the same time provides a framework to address some of the riskier applications of AI. I think it's the right touch.
Madam Chair,
Senator Klobuchar.
I just wanted to reinforce what Senator Thune just said. This bill was long in the making, and it has broad support on both sides of the aisle. It's narrowly tailored. I know that Senator Thune, as the lead on the bill, has worked with Senator Cruz on other issues. We've worked with him on issues, and we will continue to do that. But this really creates some base regulation for non-defense applications of AI and is a very important bill. And I thank Senator Thune for his leadership on the bill.
Further discussion?
Madam Chair, one suggestion I'd have for my colleagues that to consider perhaps when referring to the Biden AIEO as the AIEIO. And with that, I'm happy to have a voice vote on this amendment.
All those in favor of the Cruz amendment, say aye.
Aye.